Now, Iran is about to change some of its top players. After 2 terms in office, President Hassan Rouhani has to step down, and almost 600 candidates want to succeed him in next month's election. Now, among them are some familiar faces. Ibrahim Raisi is a hardline cleric who is currently in charge of the Islamic Republic's judiciary. 4 years ago, he lost against Rouhani, but he has gained more support since. And Ali Larijani is a former parliamentary speaker who helped negotiate the nuclear deal. He is considered a moderate conservative. Now, the incumbent vice president, that's Ishaq Jahangiri, is one of the so-called reformists hoping to win over voters. But before Iranians get to choose who they think is the best candidate, the field will be narrowed down by the Guardian Council. That is a panel of Islamic clerics and lawyers that routinely block voices calling for radical change and for women, excuse me. Now, will this time be any different? We met a candidate hoping to make history.
Zahra Shojaei is used to being the only woman among men. The political scientist has been fighting for women's rights in the Islamic Republic for decades. Now she thinks it's time to turn to frontline politics, to become the country's first ever female president.
I
think the way I want to run the country, by maternal management, will change Iran. It has already been tested in the world, and it's clearly different to other forms of management. It employs kindness, subtlety, delicacy, and affection.
In Iran's progressive capital, Tehran, many people are generally open to the idea. But so far, the prospects of the upcoming election aren't giving rise to widespread euphoria. Rather, voter apathy seems to be reaching new levels. When you're hopeless about the whole system, it makes no difference whether it's a man or a woman. I think gender is not important here. To me, they are all the same, because in my country, women are more misogynistic than men. That's why I think it doesn't matter. What is important is that none of them do their duty well. Even state-controlled media outlets say the majority of voters are planning to stay away from the ballot box. That's a problem for the Islamic Republic as a whole, but especially for reformist politicians. History shows the lower the voter participation, the better the chances for hardline candidates. Zahra Shojaei knows that, but isn't deterred by it. She believes she can make a difference.
We don't believe that by simply having a female president, all the problems of the world and the Islamic societies will be solved. But it's women's right to have this, and there shouldn't be any obstacles in the way. But at this stage, I think because it's the first time that such a thing is happening in Iran, I am setting a precedent. That is a heavy burden, a big responsibility.
Should she be elected, Shojaei says, her government's motto will be peace and reconciliation. But to prove she has what it takes, she not only needs to win over the Guardian Council, but also Iran's skeptical voters, something she knows will be an uphill battle.
And for more on this, I am joined by the DW reporter who filed this report, Theresa Tropper. Good to see you, Theresa. So you've spent a lot of time in Iran. What are Zahra Shojaei's chances of winning over the Guardian Council and then the Iranian public?
Well, not very high, Christine, that's for sure. I mean, she does meet the official criteria for the job. She's between 40 and 75, for example. She has at least a master's degree and no criminal record. But as we've heard, no woman has ever been allowed to stand in an Iranian presidential election. So even Zahra Shojaei herself says that it might be too early for Iran to have its first female president. So other candidates have way better chances, men that is. For example, Ibrahim Raisi, the chief judiciary, was very likely to be qualified. Ali Larijani also very likely, although there are some rumors even he might be disqualified. And that's mainly the two people most people think will be the top candidates come election day. But on the other hand, if the Guardian Council wants to boost voter participation to a level that gives at least some credibility to whoever is elected in the end, they might consider approving a candidate that is at least a tiny bit different this time.
Right. You mentioned the Guardian Council there. What exactly is the Guardian Council's role in Iranian elections?
Well, the Guardian Council is the most influential body in Iran. It consists of 6 Islamic clerics and lawyers, and they get to decide whether new laws or new candidates in election are in line with the constitution and the country's Islamic laws. And in the past, they have disqualified almost all candidates with reformist views, all women, as we've heard, but also senior officials or even candidates they previously approved. For example, 4 years ago, even Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was disqualified, somebody who had previously been president for 8 years. And what you also have to know about the Guardian Council is that it's not an elected body. Its members are directly or indirectly appointed by the supreme leader. And that is why it's criticized both internationally and within Iran as being an obstacle to democracy, because it prevents candidates from running, and Iranians do not have a free choice of who they think is best for their country.
Okay, and just quickly, Theresa, how much power does the Iranian president really have?
Well, definitely a lot less than presidents of other countries, that's for sure, because unlike the US president, for example, he's not head of state. That is Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, and it will stay Ali Khamenei. And he makes the big decisions about foreign policy, for example, about the country's nuclear program, also about other political fields like Iran's regional activities or its missile program. So it's not like whoever gets elected can make radical changes or turn everything around. That's not possible, because Khamenei's influence will stay. But of course, the president can set a different tone. We saw that when Ahmadinejad went out of office and Rouhani came instead. He changed the tone, and that alone can increase the chances of other countries being willing to engage in dialogue with Iran or not.
All right, that's DW's Theresa Tropper. Thank you, Theresa.